It's now our pleasure to welcome Jean-Pascal Saucier to the Maple podium, and I'd like to share a little bit of background on JP first. JP is the Director of Foreign Direct Investment for Investissement Québec here in Los Angeles, responsible for attracting foreign investment from Quebec with over 15 years of experience in his field. And prior to relocating to Los Angeles, he's had assignments with Invest Quebec in Chicago and at Business France in Toronto, as well as Chicago. Strong track record of success, attracting foreign investment, working with companies from a variety of industries, including tech, agriculture, life sciences, transportation, and manufacturing. Prior to his career in the public sector, JP was a marketing manager at a Quebec-based furniture manufacturing company. He's a graduate in public communication from Laval University with an MBA from HEC Montreal Business School, and has also studied at the University of Tech, Sydney, and at EM Lyon Business School. In his spare time, he enjoys reading The Economist, cooking, cycling, skateboarding, and lives in Santa Monica with his wife, Megan, and their newborn son, Benoit, and his cat, Waffle, let's not forget. JP, please come on up. And punk music. What's your favorite band?
I love California bands, actually.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Legend, NoFX.
Excellent.
So,
with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephen. And it's a pleasure to be here today. And it's an honor to talk after both Stephen and Marie-Christine. Very, very impressive story for Atmanco, and a great success story for that represents what people can achieve in Quebec. So today I'm here to talk about the work we do in the United States and around the world at Invest Quebec to grow the Quebec economy. First thing, a word about Invest Quebec. We're quite a unique animal in economic development. We are a very large team. We're about 1,000 people. And the reason that we're that large is that we do a lot more things than most economic development outfits. We provide services to Quebec-based companies as well as to foreign companies that are looking into doing business in Quebec or are already doing business. Our services include financing. We can loan money to businesses that are expanding. Tax credit, we manage some tax credit. Those for technology companies, for example, are managed by teams within Invest Quebec. We also help with export development. We have teams around the world, including one here in Los Angeles, another one in San Francisco, with several attachés that support Quebec companies are looking for business contacts and clients abroad, or that want to attend trade shows. So we manage missions in several trade shows across the Western United States from Los Angeles and San Francisco. We also help foreign companies to find suppliers from Quebec. So large companies have come to us, small ones too, looking for certain specific products, and we're able to do matchmaking with our industry, and sometimes very successfully. We also added a few services very recently, like technological support. We absorbed the CRIC Research Center. So we now actually have about 100 engineers in Montreal and Quebec City that can help companies automate processes and also certify their products or process. So these are quite unique characteristic for economic development agency. Additionally to that, we have a VC fund and a fund of fund team where we are a limited partner in most of the VCs across Quebec. Now let's talk about Quebec and our economy. Many of you are Canadians, some Quebecers, so you might know. But yes, Quebec has a very diversified technology. California is in the same position where it's not dominated by just one industry, but it's very diverse. Clean technology, aerospace, technology, mining are some of our most important sector. We're a big food processor. We export about half of the aluminum that is used in the United States, and we serve, a lot of sectors, including financial companies and so on. So lots to do for us. Today, I want to talk about three sectors in particular. First, these are some of our economic priorities right now, and there are sectors where things are happening at the moment in Quebec, and which are also driving our efforts abroad and here in California for economic development. So we'll start with aerospace, moving on to energy transition, and finishing with the AI and tech cluster that we grew in recent years. We couldn't not talk about it because we have Marie-Christine right here, which is a living example of that, and also because California is also a hotbed of those technologies. Know that the Montreal area is a huge hub for aerospace. It's quite a unique place, actually, because we have a large number of original equipment manufacturer in just one city, and that is pretty much unique anywhere in the world. So very few cities, can compare to Montreal in terms of the breadth of our aerospace sector. We had an announcement in May that the Quebec government is investing in creating a new innovation zone around the three hubs in the Montreal area for the aerospace industry. The first one is Mirabel, which used to be an international airport. Now it's used mostly for charter flights, but also as a test bed for new aircraft technologies. So Airbus, Bombardier, and others are testing the newest aircraft technologies in Mirabel. The other hub is Montreal, and more specifically around the Montreal airport, which makes sense, the St. Lawrence area, where we have a concentration of aerospace businesses, including the world's largest supplier of flight simulators. So very high-tech product that involves virtual reality, electronics, and of course, a deep understanding of aerospace. CAE, which is based in Montreal, is one of our biggest success in this sector. The last pole is less known. It's Longueuil, so on the south side of Montreal. There is an airport in Longueuil. They're expanding, they're rebuilding the terminal, and Porter Airline is planning to offer flights to Canada and the US from Longueuil. They're rebranding also. They rebranded recently at the Montreal Metropolitan Airport. So a growing hub for aviation also. It's also the site of a technical school for aerospace and aviation, which is very important to the sector because training is really key to our success. The other asset that we have in the area is the Canadian Space Agency. And we had recent announcements in the sector where Invest Quebec, is supporting efforts by Telesat, a Canadian company, to build satellites in the Montreal area with MDA and to send them to space to create a new Canadian communication network that's going to serve all Canada. So exciting news. This is a clipping of CBC with Premier Legault and Minister Champagne. That was in May. That was the announcement of the Montreal Innovation Zone. So large investment by a West Coast company, Boeing, who's now based on the East Coast, but have most of their manufacturing here in Washington State. Boeing is going to invest about $240 million to develop activities in Quebec. Here, what we see is an air taxi that is produced by a Bay Area company called Whisk Aero. It's a company that I personally work, with to attract them to Montreal. As part of the Boeing announcement, they're gonna double the size of their engineering and design team in the Montreal area. So grow from 50 to over 100 eventually to design these air taxis that you might soon be seen flying, in the LA area. So as I was saying, we have a very large aerospace cluster. And really what stands out is the number of prime contractors and OEMs that we have in one single city. Toulouse is very much focused on Airbus, Seattle and Washington. We have Seattle and Boeing. We have both in the same city, but we also have Bombardier, Bell Helicopter, Pratt & Whitney Canada, CAE that I mentioned, and GE is also making aircraft engine parts in Quebec. So very diverse aerospace sector with a growing space technology component. Next up is the Energy Transition Valley, so another innovation zone that was announced in recent years by the government of Quebec. That wouldn't come as a surprise to most Canadians, that Quebec is pretty unique for its hydropower resources. We are the largest producer in North America of hydropower, also the largest exporter of hydropower. We have nearly all our energy from renewable sources, and we have even banned oil and gas extraction. So very much in line with the Californian way of moving very quickly towards energy transition. So much that we co-created with California and originally Ontario a cap and trade system which is connected between California and Quebec. Washington announced that they were going to join. I think they're having a referendum. We'll see how it goes, but they might be part of it as well. And maybe one day Ontario will join back. That clean energy, along with our mining resources, gave us an opportunity. Back during the early times of the pandemic, I was lucky to be part of a team that was set up at Invest Quebec to attract battery manufacturing to Quebec province. So we set out with PowerPoints and with video calls because there was the pandemic at the time. And we started to reach out to battery manufacturing companies across the United States and the world, and to tell them the story of Quebec. Tell them that we add strategic minerals such as lithium, graphite, and many others, that we were already working on projects to process them. For example, Nemaska Lithium is building a plant to process lithium in the province of Quebec, which is going to provide a domestic source of lithium, which we all rely on for building batteries. So across the province and across across the whole value chain, basically, of the electric vehicle and energy transition, Quebec has been able to carve a niche. So from refining to cell production, you might have heard of the announcement with Nordvolt also in the spring. So that is still developing, but great investment that is planned for over $7 billion. Ford, with its Korean partner, EcoPro, as well as Ultium Cam, which is part of GM, have all selected Quebec as a place to build battery materials or battery cells. We also have companies specialized in truck and buses, and also lighter electric vehicle with BRP or Taiga, as well as recycling company, Lithium and Solumet, that are planning or already operating in Quebec. This industry is spread around the province, but there are two main hubs that were designated for the energy transition valley, which is going to be our energy transition cluster, the hub of Shawinigan and of Bécancour. Both are around midway between Montreal and Quebec City on either side of the St. Lawrence. And both are areas where there was a very, very strong industrial presence that had declined very much over the year. Industries like metals manufacturing, like pulp and paper have been pulling back for years. But now these these regions are experiencing a new industrial boom to the point where we have a hard time finding land for industrial projects or power, as you may have heard. Last up, we're not just an industrial powerhouse. We're also a tech powerhouse within Canada. And let's talk about that. Since 2016, around $3 billion were invested by foreign companies in Quebec, in AI specifically. We also were selected as the headquarters of Scale AI, which is a Canadian supercluster that is looking to apply AI solution to supply chain technologies. And in 2016, what happened is that Google announced that they were going to set up an AI research lab in Montreal. And that really, really brought us to the attention of the other large company. Now, the person that was the head of that team at Google was a Quebecer. I live in San Francisco. I visit him from time to time. His name is Sami Benjo. He's very well known. He's now at Apple. But his brother, which is a picture here on the right, is the founder of our AI cluster in Montreal. Joshua Benjo, an AI researcher that chose to stay in Montreal and build around him an AI institute called Mila that has now grown tremendously. They have built a whole campus in the north side of Montreal and attracted several companies to the area to conduct cutting-edge AI research. They also work with local companies. And Joshua Benjo has the distinction of being one of the strongest voice in AI ethics, and his goal is really that AI technology is used for good. So Atmanco is a great example. I think it fits into that narrative. But areas like drug discovery, new materials, new energy technologies, that's what Mila is really pushing. And it is noticed worldwide. Actually, Joshua Benjo was named one of Times Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world in the past couple of weeks. So buy your Time Magazine, 100 most influential people. We have a Canadian that is there. So technology in Montreal and AI in Montreal is very, very attractive. This is a salary benchmark from 2024, so quite recent, between several cities. So as you can see, Canada is a very attractive place to do business for tech companies because the cost of doing business is significantly lower than the US. Pair that with some of the most generous research and development incentives, both by the federal government, but also in Quebec, we have our own programs, which are known as probably the most generous in Canada and across North America, where we provide tax credits that can represent 30% or more of the cost of hiring engineers and AI scientists in Montreal, across Quebec. So the cost of a machine learning engineer, for example, in Montreal is not quite half, but it's close to half of the cost of hiring one here in California. In San Francisco, we don't have Los Angeles on this slide, but Los Angeles is just between Seattle and San Francisco in terms of cost in general. So that's driving a lot of business and a lot of interest for Quebec across our clientele. To conclude, I would like to mention that despite having salaries that are not as high as they are in San Francisco or Los Angeles, we do have an exceptional quality of life in Quebec and in Canada in general. And that's really a key also to attracting business to our great province. For example, the cost of living has been going up as it has everywhere, but is still significantly cheaper than most major Canadian cities. So huge difference. Your money goes a little further in Quebec province for housing. Also, very able childcare. We have state-sponsored childcare. So the difference, and I have, as Stephen mentioned, a 9-month-old baby. So I have childcare here in California. I can see how much it costs. It's huge difference. So we like to tell that story that we really stand out as an attractive place for people with young children and families in general. Last up is something you probably know already. Canada is one of the safest places on the planet. And Quebec within Canada is actually one of the safest places that you can choose. Almost one of the safest in the world. Quebec City has been ranked 6th safest city around the world. Sadly, for Los Angeles, for California, the homicide rate in Quebec is just 1/6 of what it is in the United States. So it is a very safe place. It's still affordable, and it's very competitive in terms of cost. And we do offer very generous incentives for companies doing business. So we are ready to help them. Please let us know if you know any US companies that want to move to Quebec, or if you know of Quebec companies that want to do business here in the United States. We have the teams in place to support them. So myself I'm heading the attraction efforts with Pauline that is here. And Mathieu, which has a larger team spread across San Francisco and Los Angeles, is able to support Quebec-based companies that want to find customers in the United States or attend trade shows here. So let us know if you have any opportunities or any question regarding our efforts or Quebec in general. And we'll be glad to talk. Thank you.
Thank you. We're thinking about that. Is it true that Bombardier has a piece of the transportation work at the LAX redevelopment and the train?
I'm not aware, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's the case. Are you talking about the train?
Yeah.
That would be Alstom because they sold their train business to Alstom. And yeah, but that's a company we've been supporting. So Alstom's French company, but they now have a major presence in Quebec and is one of our clients or the companies we're supporting.
Any delegations of Quebec businesses that are planning a trip down to Los Angeles?
Well, to Las Vegas next week, I believe, is Mine Expo. So our mining industry will be in Las Vegas. LA has so much going on. There's always a Quebec company somewhere in LA at any time. But yeah, next up is going to be maybe Commotion LA. We always have a lot of companies that fly in for that. Yeah, that will be probably the next big one I can think of.
GP, how's the lithium mining industry doing given some of the cutbacks in the electric vehicle industry?
Yes, very good question. So you're obviously watching the news, and there's been a slowdown across the electric vehicle industry because people are buying less than expected for different reasons. The industry experts say it's driven by the interest rates being higher, so people won't afford, and then by the infrastructure not being ready. We were mentioning with Marc-Christine how charging can sometimes be an issue for people with an electric vehicle. So it has slowed down the development. But all the major projects, most of them are still on the way, albeit slower than expected, which is not necessarily a bad thing because their calendar was so tight in the beginning that it would have been really hard to meet the deadlines that they had set for themselves.
Where does the lithium mining industry in Quebec stand globally?
Yes, so it's emerging. So in terms of resources, we know that we have significant resources. Right now, Nemaska Lithium, which happens to be a client, can I say that? Not yet. No, okay. Or prospective clients of Marie-Christine. Yeah, okay. They're building the plant now to process the minerals. So right now we're not shipping out, exporting lithium. There's probably a small amount being produced for test runs and so on, but it's coming up, and we hope more to come. There's been a lot of attention by large mining companies from across the world to,
I was there with an Australian company about a year ago. It's quite extraordinary what's going on up there.
Yes. Maybe you can tell us more about it.
I was just very impressed.
Okay, yeah.
And so the resources, the level of lithium that is available there. The big question is environmentally.
Yeah.
How is it going to impact? That was a really big issue that we discussed when I was up there.
Yeah, definitely one of the challenge of the mining industry anywhere is the environmental factor. If we look at Nemaska Lithium, which is the processor of lithium and not the miner, their goal is to create the greenest process to extract lithium from rocks. This is extremely energy intensive. So they have a technology that allows to do it with much less energy than previous generation technologies.
It still requires a lot, so the carbon footprint isn't that great.
That's true. Of course, if they use green power to power their machines, it's helpful to keep the footprint low. And this is one of the reasons why we think we have an opportunity in Quebec to have the manufacturing of batteries clustered in the province, is that they're able to produce using green energy, and so they can keep the carbon footprint quite low. This was part of our pitch to the battery manufacturing companies. We had studied how much they could expect to produce in terms of GES, and it was much less in Quebec than elsewhere because of the availability of hydropower. which is now in high demand, and that's becoming also an issue. The demand for hydropower is so big that Hydro-Quebec needs to expand the network and the production of clean energy.
Our New York chapter has talked about some of the events about how important that contract with Quebec has been to help with New York State's transition in New York City with the hydro from Quebec.
Yeah, absolutely. The former Delegate General in New York, which is now a Santa Monica resident, Catherine Loubier, she was a big part of signing that agreement with New York, where a huge portion of the electricity that is going to be consumed in New York will be coming from Quebec. It's already happening. The amounts are going to increase. So we're going to export a lot of electricity to New York, which would help the carbon footprint, not the carbon footprint in Quebec, but the global carbon footprint. Yes, this is one of the uses for hydropower.